Justin Frandson, welcome to the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. Thank you so much for taking part in this interview today. I'm very happy to have you here. For those who are unfamiliar with your work, could you tell us what you do?
Yes, Venus, thanks for having me on. I'm an athleticism performance coach, founded athleticism.com 25 years ago, working with amateur and professional athletes for nerve work for sports performance. And I know we're going to get into the EMF topic. And what brought me there was I saw the athletes having wearable technology and breaking down from that excess EMF.
Okay, so what is EMF for those who are unfamiliar with that term?
They are electromagnetic fields or frequencies that were basically made from and surrounded by and one with. And they can be native ones, as I mentioned, or non-native. And the non-native ones, I think, is what we're going to lean in on today. And they're all one directional waveforms, or they don't work.
So the native ones, are we EMF? We have, because we are electric, some people say, is that correct?
Yes, very much so. In a lot of different ways. We're electromagnetic bodies. And so we're one with our universe. We're made on these unpolarized waves that distribute equally in every direction. And they're called scalar waves. And a great example would be if I were to drop a pebble in a pond, would the resonance and the splash of the pond go in a straight line to the right or the left or up or down? Not a chance. It'll distribute equally in every direction. And that's a framework for how we're made and one with the universe. But these non-native man-made waves of electricity, dirty electricity, and all the wireless signals, they're all one directional waveforms. And that's polarizing for our body and chips away at our life force.
So you have a background in sport, and what brought you into this field of EMFs?
Well, the guys were breaking down. So I had a early inclination of it when I was younger, and I would talk on the phone too long. I would feel pain in my ear, and I'm like, what's going on? This is corded. Is this okay? But yeah, hours on a phone glued up to your head, I could feel that. I had an apartment with a telephone wires and a transformer literally on the other side of the wall of my bed. And I was sick the whole year. I took an internship and I got stuck at a copy machine, pulling paper off an x-ray machine, and my fingertips would burn. And I'm like, oh, it's hot, hot, hot. And this is 30 years ago. And now I have nerve pain when I touch a touch screen. There's nerve pain on my fingertips from working the x-ray machine years ago, which a lot of people don't have. So I feel a lot of the kids on the computers and touchscreens will develop that in 30 years as well, because our systems just get overrun over a period of time. And so I was the last guy to get a cell phone. So with all those, and then seeing literally clinically an athlete coming in, strongest, fittest endurance guy wearing a smartwatch and going, hey, Justin, I have pain in my wrist. And I'm like, hey, take off that radiation watch that you're wearing. So he takes it off, and then the pain goes away, and then the arm function restores really quickly. So that was the aha moment about a decade ago where I'm like, we got to jump into this and look at how it's affecting every aspect of our life and performance.
See, I actually saw one of your videos, I think, or maybe a YouTube short about the smartwatch. I was very intrigued about that because I have an Apple Watch, but I always forget to wear it. And but I think people are very curious about things like biofeedback, monitoring their sleep, how many steps they've taken, etc. So does this apply to things like Fitbits as well, or everything that you can wear? What are the dangers of wearable technology, and what examples would you give?
Definitely, Venus. I mean, early on, if you remember, some of the Fitbits had too much resonance coming out of them. They had to dial them down because people were having pain from wearing them. So that was some of the early onset reports of them. And so it's Fitbits and all the Apples, and intuitively your body's telling you it doesn't want it. And at the end of the day, when you're doing something and you do it well, do you need someone to tell you you did it well? Not really. Do you need someone to tell you when to eat or how many steps you took, or if you had a great workout that day, or how well you slept? You can kind of wake up and intuitively feel it and know it. Like when you listen to your body, and you know how it ticks and you know what makes it tick and feel good and be optimal, you don't need something to tell you about that. So having a device and that meta universe, we want to get people out of that. That's the whole goal, is to get them connected to their body so they can really know how they feel.
Amazing. So would you suggest people should have a minimum amount of gadgets then? I mean, how do we apply
Yeah.
this to daily life?
Yes, definitely. I mean, not at the end of the day, we can't live in this society now without being part of it in some way with technology. So, you know, electricity in every home pretty much, and we're dealing with routers and computers and wireless, you know, signals everywhere. And now they have smart meters, at least here in the US, on every residence, and that is an automated gas and electric meter. And so it's really tough to get away from this stuff. So we got to really learn to identify them and then develop proximity protocols to where if it's a cell phone, never put it right next to your head, like never, ever, always have it on speaker, and wear corded earbuds, not the wireless ones, because that's an airway canal directly to your brain. That's not a recipe for success, having millimeter waves going localized in your inner ear where there's just an airway canal directly to your brain. So we got to really start to think out of the box and understand this interplay between how we're one with the universe and how this EMF's different, identify them, and then start to develop proximity protocols. And then the next step, it's free, get grounded by nature. And that's how we're going to be able to coexist with this stuff.
Okay, a bit more about that in a moment, but I have a question about cell phones, because I've really noticed over the last, let's say 10, 15 years, even that how we use them has changed so much. I mean, I used to be someone with, big phone bills because I used to love talking. Whereas now we're just WhatsApping and sending messages. So we don't actually have it to our heads that often. Do you think this is part of the reason why we're doing this, because they are more dangerous?
Definitely. I mean, it's a great example of how we can prevent brain cancer and acoustic nerve challenges, and is to just stay more with texting versus being on a call and having it glued to your brain, for sure. So
I think habits have changed, haven't they? Because people have become more allergic to those long calls and having video calls instead, so there's no physical
yeah,
contact with the body.
and maybe subconsciously that's part of it too. I think a lot of it is the ease of things, or not wanting to get too close to someone but stay connected. I mean, there's a lot of interplay with just the social engagement or lack thereof with texting compared to actually talking to someone. But intuitively, it might be the body just saying, yeah, let's not put this thing up to our brain. So I hope that is what it's telling us.
So do these dangers apply to all electrical devices that we have?
Yes, there's a study from Dr. Martin Paul out of Washington State University, talks about the voltage gated calcium channels. That's a big word, big several words, but that means your gateway for energy to come into your mitochondria, which is your cells, your powerhouse, where you get energy in the cell. So if that's disrupted, your energy is disrupted, then it's an oxidative stress. It'll calcify your pineal gland, so you're not sleeping, so it disrupts your hormones and replenishing them. And then the bandwidth of these cell phone devices are 2.45 gigahertz, and I equate it to waves per second, because Venus, everyone can grasp that. So that's 2.45 billion waves per second of a one directional phone. So that's the same bandwidth that destructures water. So we're actually dehydrating us and our environment at the same time. So yeah, these things are, whether it's low level from electricity to higher level, it's challenging. One other notable thing is the book called The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. And this is crazy. In 1889, when we introduced electricity into our homes, the flu was here to stay. Before that, they called it the flu, Venus, because it would fly in and fly out with cosmic shifts, whether they were solar flares or atmospheric pressure shifts, that would disrupt our bodies. But until we brought it into our homes, even a low level at 50 to 60 milligauss or 50 to 60 waves per second into our homes of electricity, the flu is here to stay.
I'm really worried now because I've got my main job is sex toy designing. I've got a spare room with 800 toys. Should I be concerned?
Well, if you have the grounding bags, not so much. I mean, the batteries, you got to look at the battery operated things. You know, our bodies are so resilient. We're going to be able to take the toys, use them, enjoy them, and benefit from, whether it's electric bike or one of your toys. Again, you're not using it 24/7 up to your phone. You're using it, enjoying it, and then then you have the grounding bags to create that coherence, and then just make sure you get outside in nature as well.
So actually the presence of them, even though they're switched off, and they have a rechargeable battery these days, so they're not all switched on at the same, they're all off, but the presence of them, that they have to be kind of switched on to be dangerous. Is that what
For the most part, yeah. With the smaller batteries, yes, they have to be switched on to really cause more of an effect on us. If they're just laying on a countertop, wouldn't worry about it at all.
Okay, so
even if it's 800 of them. That's a good number. That's a good collection.
It's 10 years of work. I'm a designer, so I do a lot of I'm a sex tech consultant. That's my kind of main source of income. But I'm very interested in lifestyle and healthy lifestyle. That's why I created this podcast to kind of get into the orgasmic lifestyle, which is about reaching climax in all areas of life. Because I'm very interested in healthy lifestyles. Like I'm sober. I'm whole foods, plant based. I live a very healthy life. So let's talk about the grounding bags. I'm very curious about this. What is a grounding bag and how can it help you?
So everyone looks to nature, Venus, to get grounded, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so did we. So we hand mine crystals. These are the crystals that are inside the grounding bags, or literally have moisture and magnetic properties. So everyone knows about shungite or amethyst or black tourmaline, all the other known properties out there. Well, ours have this moisture content with the magnetic, and the combination between the two is phenomenal for EMF protection. And so we just deploy it in a grounding bag, and these are hand mined crystals inside here. You put this on your bed and you'll sleep deeper than ever, 3 to 60% deeper. We just had a doctor test his deep sleep, went from 45 minutes to 100. So that's over 50% improvement on their sleep, which is phenomenal. So yeah, they work really well. And so when you're using them in a bedroom, you can put it on your bed, just where you don't touch it, at the head of the bed between you and your partner, or underneath the bed, leaning against the leg of the bed. As long as it's touching it, what it does is creates a coherence. So there's a harmony between us and any vibration, no pun intended, that the other ones would emit, that would potentially affect our body. And again, the bigger vibrations would come from electric car, not an electric toy per se as much.
So are those crystals, let's say, are they broken down into small pieces? Because I'm really into kind of like I have a weighted blanket which has these tiny they're kind of glass pieces, so it's a thin blanket but it's very weighted, which I find very comforting. Is it like that concept, or are they kind of like the big stones? What does it look like?
Just what we showed you. If you can see it, it's bigger stones. And for the ones that can't see it, it's about 1 pound of crystals, and the bigger the stones, the longer they'll last per se. So if they're finer stones, they could turn to dust, and once they do that, you just have to get a new bag. So it's bigger rocks. It's nothing we can deploy in a product per se, like a blanket or a wearable, because they have to be sealed, and you need a lot of it to create the coherence. We do have a mini, which is for a purse, a pocket, or a backpack for on-the-go protection. So if you have your purse and you have your phone in it, and it's right next to your liver because you're carrying it on that shoulder, you might want to have a mini grounding bag in there as well, just to create that balance. So I put it in my pocket, and I put my phone on the outside of it, because those are your reproductive organs. I mean, this is, if we want to go into those areas, you got to protect them. And so it's one of the best things you can have to do that as well. The thing too, in the health side of reproduction, fertility, menopausal changes, you got to create a coherence between this stuff. So I don't know why the computer industries have called a computer a laptop. I mean, they're putting a router and a massive battery over your reproductive organs. Guys' sperm count plummets. Women's ovaries absorb 10 times the amount of radiation than any other part of the body. And it's not like they replenish their sperm like guys do. So it's a really challenging topic when it comes to fertility, because we're not seeing a lot of success in that area this generation from the technology.
So these grounding bags is it like a blanket? What is it, just, or just the bag? It's just a bag with the crystals in.
This is it, Venus.
Okay,
Yeah.
you didn't even open it. That's just
no.
like that. Okay.
Yeah, you use it as is.
Okay. I'm a massive fan of crystals, and last night I put all my crystals out for the full moon and I charged them up. And I have certain crystals in my bed, under my pillow, etc. Are you into crystals? I mean, is it a similar concept?
Well, those are crystals. They're hand mined. So that's the whole thing. Yours you can display and they won't turn to dust. Ours, you have to keep them sealed. But similar concept, ours are just stronger because of the moisture with the magnetic, and as they're stronger at helping you sleep and deal with the EMF.
Okay, because I have a lot of I have rose quartz under my pillow, and then I have some selenite, and I have some amethyst and clear quartz or smoky quartz. So I kind of like have some for the bedroom. Then I have on my desk, I've got the citrine for the abundance, and then all the blue ones for my podcast communication. And I've got about 60 crystals. So anytime I need something in my life, I just look online for my crystal prescription.
I love it. Well,
So,
we're gonna have 61. It's crystals when we send you the grounding bag.
oh, I was going to ask you if I was going to get one. So yeah, I would love that, because I'm really into all this stuff. And talking about protection as well from all of these waves, I have some friends who claim to be sensitive to Wi-Fi. Is there any point in switching off our Wi-Fi at night to protect?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I want to acknowledge your friends. They're spot on, and good for you guys for being so aware. And if you're bothered by it, that's a gift of awareness of feeling energy. And if you could feel that polarizing energy, even though it's affecting you negatively, it's still a gift. A lot of people call it a sensitivity, but I call it a gift. And it is really poison. It's poisoning our environment. They're polluting our environment with millimeter waves, and they're super challenging for us. So the best thing to do is to turn your Wi-Fi off at night, for sure. You can even, if you can get an electrician to go to your basically your electrical panel and create an override switch where you can switch or have it on a timer actually, and switch the electricity completely off in your bedroom at night. And I would start there. And then you can override it with a switch, and then you can actually have an outlet timer on your Wi-Fi, so that goes off when you're sleeping, or you can click it and turn it on and off as needed, and all your devices go on and off as well. So we want to create the resonance in your bedroom, especially when you're sleeping, as close to being outside. And then that holds true with your home, and then an office as well. We got to get that resonance quieted back down to what we call the Schumann resonance, the healing pulse. There are 7.83 hertz or waves per second. Because when you're in a delta or theta brainwave state, so Venus, when you're in the deepest restorative brainwave state for sleep and rapid eye movements, and you have these incredible lucid dreams that just take you beyond, your brainwave state is low and slow, even just a little slower than the pulse of the universe. These cell phones ping at 2.45 billion waves per second. The 5G is 60 to 90 billion waves per second. So we're trying to sleep at 1 to 8 about, and these are in the 10 zeros faster. So it's going to be really disruptive for us. Our brain tries to figure out what's pinging it, goes into what we call a twilight sleep. So we never get into that deep restorative sleep.
That's interesting. So in our bedrooms, then, I mean, another thing I question before we go into how we should protect ourselves while sleeping. I always wonder when people want to turn the Wi-Fi off at night. I think, well, what about your neighbors, like upstairs and downstairs? I mean, surely you're getting affected by that, and you turning your Wi-Fi is not going to make that much difference. What would you say to that?
Right. Well, for sure you'll get it, but the proximity to it, it's going to be buffered by walls and ceilings, and it'll be a lot less. Even though you're able to pick it up,
Mhm.
it's not going to be right in your proximity. So our grounding bags will help create that coherence between us and that environment, whether it's your signals or extraneous signals from neighbors or satellites or what have you. You're gonna create harmony in your home the more grounding bags you have.
Okay,
So we
perfect.
recommend, yeah, we recommend 5 for 2,000 square feet of a home, plus 1 on each bed. And then 7 if you have solar, 7 in an electric car, because sitting on a massive battery is the absolute worst for anybody.
I like to keep my bedroom as minimalist as possible. There's literally just the bed, and I have one lamp which I never turn on, and that's all I have. Just nothing. There's nothing. There's no TV. There's nothing in there. The only thing I do have is I like my meditation apps. I love Insight Timer. I make content on there as well. And I guess I'm assuming that it's not good to have the smartphone in our beds at night. What
Right. So for sure. So Venus, if you're using those apps, and we all love them, just download it before you go to bed and then put it on airplane mode. So you can still record and play it, but it's just not looking for a signal to communicate with and broadcasting all night long. That's the game we're playing. We can get that resonance a little lower. It's going to be a lot better for you.
That's a good point. Because I think a lot of people, that's probably one of the reasons why people don't sleep, because they're scrolling aimlessly at night. And also the melatonin is not getting produced with all those lights as well.
Yeah, the circadian rhythm component to sleep and wellness is huge. Get in rhythm with the sun and the moon. When you're going to bed, create that dark environment so you can start to adjust to it. If you're having screen time before, wear blue light blockers for sure to block out those lights that will keep you up for several hours longer. First thing in the morning, whenever you wake up, reset your eyes to seeing the sky and knowing what's real light and what's blue. And that's what's going to get you in rhythm. You'll be able to sleep a lot better, and you'll start grounding. You'll get this like pure grounding effect of being outside in nature. We just have disconnected from outside in a lot of ways. We're stuck in, inside too much. And whatever story you're in, we got to get back outside and know that we're one with nature, and you're going to sleep and feel a lot better.
I watched this amazing documentary. I'm sure you know it. I think it was called Earthing or something about grounding, about being barefoot on the earth. Is that something you'd recommend? I'm assuming as well. Is this a kind of like replacement for that? These bags are for those effects.
Yeah, yes, and yes. So it replicates it, is what it does. The grounding bags do. Earthing or grounding is what I'm saying and alluding to by saying getting out into nature. It's one of the most important pillars of health that no one really talks about. And you're going to have everything optimized when you're grounded. Our bodies act like a body battery, Venus. So we get a negative ionic charge from the earth, and we pull the electrons in it. We get a positive charge from the sun, which is unpolarized. And then we get the minerals from our food and water, hopefully from both of those. And then in the air as well. And then water, we use it for the conductivity as well. That's essentially how our body battery works. And Eileen McCusick wrote about it in Electric Body, Electric Health, which is a great book on tuning fork healing with your energy field healing and clearing anything stuck in your biofield. And so that's how our body battery works. Now, we can replicate that grounding effect with the grounding bags, because you're literally bringing the resonance of the earth into your home. And when you do that, it's just like walking barefoot in a bag. So when you're inside, use the grounding bags. When you're outside, go barefoot, touch a tree, have a picnic, get close to the earth as possible, get your body into a body of water. So I'm a huge waterman. I like to surf, and I'm in the ocean, Pacific Ocean every day, literally surfing, free diving, body surfing, swimming, whatever it is. I'm in the water no matter what the temperature is, no wetsuit. We just go. And I'm getting the cold factors. I'm getting the stoke on. I'm breathing. I'm getting the survival instincts. I'm getting grounded by nature in that body of water more than ever. And I walk barefoot. I'll walk the dog in the morning as well. So at least twice a day, I'm getting significant amounts of grounding from the walks and then from actually jumping in the body of water. And when you do that, everyone, you're going to sleep so well and perform better than you've ever performed.
I think when you go to nature, you always just sleep better. Just the air is different. But I live in Barcelona, in a city, in a building of lots of apartments on top of each other. And I don't have a garden. So how can we ground, apart from having a grounding bag of yours? Is there any other things that we can do? I mean, I go barefoot at home after the COVID thing. I didn't want to be taking the dirt of the street into my home. So is there anything else? I mean, I've got my 60-something crystals. Well, 61 when I get yours. So what else can we do at home to kind of create a grounding atmosphere?
Well, the first thing is really build your life force up, and know that you can convert a one directional waveform. So there's this thing called physics. I don't want anyone to fear the EMFs. Like they're a tool. We want to use the tool, not let the tool use us, right? So that's the important part with this whole interplay between us and electricity in every form. So when you're at home, know that you can convert these waveforms, but shut down power in bedrooms when you're sleeping, turn devices off, hardwire your home. It's faster, it's safer, it's more reliable. There's minimal health challenges. Again, get rid of the Nest AC units or Alexa doorbells or Alexas or Ring doorbells, like all these wireless devices that are listening to you and tracking and tracing and basically surveillance marketing you. Get those out of your life. And that's how you're going to be able to really heal and have your home more of a sanctuary if something's not, listening to you. And then load it up with grounding bags. So grounding bags are the answer, along with making your home a safe home. Get the wiring so it's really safe. Get a Stetzer electric meter. They're 100 and I don't know, 30, 40 bucks. Plug it in the wall. It tells you how healthy your wiring is. So there's certain things you could do to make sure your home's a healthy home. And if you have a neighbor that has EMF like really heavy on the other side of your room, maybe do EMF paint or tint a window or curtains to block it and repel it the other way. So those are some things. If there's a cell tower outside of your window and unfortunately they put it up there and they didn't tell you and they don't care, just to repel it the other way and do some blocking measures for safety, and then use the grounding bags. You're going to need a lot more grounding bags to help create the coherence if you're that close to that strong of a signal.
Yeah, I've got my black tourmaline at the door to keep everything, to keep negativity away.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah, I'm totally into all of that. So what about, what else was I going to say here? Yeah, you just made me think about the data collecting. Sometimes we're having a conversation and I open my phone and I see an advert for something that we've just spoken about. It's kind of crazy, isn't it?
It is. Well, this whole deal, it's like I've gone into human performance and now into product for EMFs. And then we have MCT oils to help with diabetes and weight loss. And all this whole topic is got us into privacy and security from EMF protection, because they're literally listening to everything we're doing. And they want your biometrics. They want your fingerprint. They want your palm print. They want your retina scan, your face, your voice. Like those are your single most unique identifiers, Venus. You don't ever want to give those away for commerce. And because once they take them, they're irreplaceable. So just we got to keep this distance between us and and this technologies that they're deploying, saying that they're for our best interest or for our convenience or for our performance, but a lot of them aren't. A lot, unfortunately, there's ulterior motives with a lot of these.
This just takes me back to what I mentioned earlier about biofeedback, which that's a real incentive to keep using a certain device or app, isn't it? And that would you say a lot of, I mean, people say they're not doing data farming, but that's something we always fear. Because I actually tested this amazing product that I thought was amazing recently. It was a pelvic floor trainer. And sometimes people need motivation to be, to remember to do the Kegels. It's so important for healthy sex life or orgasms or postpartum, what have you. And there's this amazing device that you put in the vagina, and it's got a couple of sensors. Then you play video games on your mobile, like you're, killing birds and you're squeezing. And then you're like, it's just so much fun. And then you get the feedback, and you're like, you see how you're getting stronger and stronger. Then you're like, it makes you want to do it more. So those kind of, I think people love biofeedback for that reason, for that motivation and just knowing about yourself.
Yeah, I love that too. And again, these things, and I've worked with professional athletes for so long, but we have baselines. So establish a baseline where you're at, and then midpoints, and then endpoints. So you don't have to have something telling you where you're at every day doing it. But sometimes, like those biofeedback exercises that you're talking about, there are fun games that you can play. Well, get yourself up to a certain level and then start doing it on your own. So there's ways we can learn with this stuff and use it to our advantage. I mean, this is huge. And then the Kegels it's probably one of the most important primal nerves you can do, because if you can't control your bladder, shut it down, or excrete waste, or have you die. Like, you become toxic and die. You can't swallow with the tongue movement, you die. Like, these are primal nerves of the body that you need to upregulate and keep strong. And whether it's for intimacy or for performance or overall health, it's one and the same for me. Like, you got to optimize these nerves. And if you need a little support right out of the gate with binaural beats or games or what have you, use it, and then get yourself in a rhythm with it, and then start doing it on your own. But it's not a lifelong tracking every day and testing every day. Start to rely on your body and that muscle memory to re-cue. Make it part of your morning routines, where you do your prayer, your grounding, your Kegel exercises, your breath work. Like, literally, it's part of your routine to set your day so you're optimized for performance. Because the pelvic floor, and I've gone through a pelvic floor injury right now, it's no fun to have, and it's a last area you want to really have to have trouble with, especially later on in life. So you gotta work on those exercises, keep that fascia hydrated. We use silica to do that, and you could get it at alphavedic.com. They have, in their cell salt section, they have silica, which is great to keep those fascia strong, and so you can keep the nerve conductivity great as well.
Amazing. So I like the way you can kind of like, use it in harmony. You can, embrace these technologies, but also in moderation. So you mentioned MCT oil. So that takes me to a topic that I absolutely adore, nutrition. Do you have any tips about food? And that's another one. That's one of my biggest passions, actually. It's probably my second biggest passion, which is organic, locally sourced food. And also saw in your, I think it's the Media One sheet, you mentioned something about soil as well. So I always buy my food local, in season, at a farmer's market. And it's incredible, because then every week you go, there's something different, because the seasons are constantly changing. It's fun. It's just amazing. And the taste is just superior.
It is. It really is. And I love that. And that's where you're going to find more health than not. So really lean into fresh, organic, but you got to know where it's sourced. Just because they're telling you it's organic or it's wild grown, it doesn't mean it is. That's for sure. A lot of the organizations are infiltrating the farmers markets, and you can see the berries. If they're really cookie cutter and look the same, they've been modified. There's chemicals all over them. even if they're like, oh yeah, we grow organic. No, they don't. And then the wild harvested salmon, they're full of parasites if they're from farm raised. So you can tell the difference. So, but the food is huge. We're losing our nutrients from the glyphosate from Roundup and the herbicides, pesticides that they're spraying above us from the chemtrails are literally dropping aluminum, barium, strontium, herbicides on us from above. So we're getting it in the food. They're dipping seeds in it. They're modifying the seeds in the food. They're depleting the soil with monocrop farming. So when you can get a biodynamic regenerative farmer that has great nutrient dense soil and hasn't riddled it with pesticides, you're going to get a lot more nutrients out of it. And for us, so I lean into that lifestyle, not genetically modified. It's kind of, I equate our grounding bags to eating organically, where it's in nature's resonance, whereas a man-made device attempting to keep up with the man-made signals would be a GMO device. So let's keep that out of the way. And then for the diabetes part, we've been inundated with spiking and crashing our glucose levels with improper diets. And I lean more to intermittent fasting and more of a keto intake and balanced intake. And when we do that and it's super clean, you're not eating as much. Your body doesn't really need as much. We have our MCT oil. It's called lean oil, and it's literally a palm kernel oil instead of coconut, which is more bioavailable. There's high C8, the rest C10. So it's like burning a fire with a log versus paper. And a log would give you more sustained energy from a plant source. So it's literally lubricating your joints. It's helping normalize your glucose level so you're not going to spike and crash. And then it's great for brain and gut health. But we had a client real quick on the EMF side, new diabetes, childhood diabetes. Parents are like, okay, let's go on a vacation and get out of this house that's toxic, that caused this. And it took 10 years for the kid to develop it. But they jumped on an airplane. The mom had a new smartwatch on tracking her kid. And, obviously she didn't want the kid to die. So they're on the plane. Everyone jumps on their Wi-Fi. The kid's glucose levels go up 200 points. And he gets a bloody nose just sitting there. And then it was a long flight. And then everyone fell asleep. Towards the tail end, half the people woke up. Blood sugar goes up 100 points. Kid gets a bloody nose while he's still sleeping. I mean, when you're in an airplane, you're in a capsule, and there's, however many people times billions of waves per second, it's going to mess with our environment. It is what's our invisible environment and how does it affect us? And so really normalizing your body with the right oil to help buffer it, like medium chain triglyceride oil. And from, our lean oil is the cleanest you can find, is fantastic as well.
So that's another place where, so how can we protect ourselves in a plane then?
Well, bring a grounding bag or 2 or 3 with you.
Like have it on your lap or something, like have it.
Yeah, for sure. I do. And whenever I fly, I put it actually on as a low back support. It's not comfortable. Maybe I'll throw a sweatshirt down to kind of give it a little more cushion, but the chairs they're concave. They're just awful for your posture. So I'll put something to straighten me out a little bit. And so I'll put on my low back, and I'll put one on my stomach most of the time, like underneath a jacket or something where they won't say anything to me about having something on my lap. So I have really a lot of protection. And then I'll maybe have an extra one in my briefcase or suitcase and where my computer is. So I'll have one at my feet, one on my stomach, one on my back. And literally I haven't gotten sick all year traveling. Last year I got lazy with it. I only had the mini with me. I traveled twice and got sick twice right after the flight. And everyone this year that got those same COVID-like symptoms, they got it right after they flew. So the airlines are ratcheting up their signal strength, and that's your invisible environment, you guys. We got to be aware of it, and we have to create some type of coherence with it. and build your life force up before you go on it. Never eat the crappy airplane food, and get grounded before and after, get off the plane, and then maybe bring a grounding bag or 1, 2, or 3 or more with you to
Yeah, for me,
help
when I
create
get a
that kind
plane, I
of.
just want to wash my hair after, because I just imagine all the sneezes.
Uh,
Because that's the air's not getting recycled, so it's just like you're just absorbing it all in your clothes. I just want to wash my clothes and wash my hair after a flight. It's and you mentioned intermittent fasting. I'm getting into that now, actually. I've been doing it. I've been doing it intermittently, but now I'm kind of getting a bit more serious about it. Eating twice a day from, let's say, 10 a.m. and then 4, 5 p.m. and that's kind of my 2 meals a day. Why do you think it's important to do? What hour gaps do you do? Which windows? What hour?
no, that would be great. That would be great. I have a feeling you'll end up not eating as much for breakfast once we get you the MCT oil as well.
Mm.
So your body just won't need a lot in the morning. You might have some juice or something to get the system going, but you just won't need like a solid, substantial meal in the morning. You'll just have an early big meal. And so that's what I'm leaning more towards now is MCT in the morning, and stay within that time frame that you recommended. And then I'll basically, I had apple juice mostly this morning, and then I'll have a big, early dinner around 5 o'clock or so, whenever
Because
I
that's
finish.
almost the 1 meal a day. Was that what you're leaning to?
Well, it can be for me. I'm like you. I kind of lean in and lean out of it a little bit. I go with what my body asks for, not what a protocol tells me to do per se. I'm already in the fat burning zone when I'm using the MCT oil. I'm already have the ketones, so I'm not spiking and crashing my insulin. So my energy is really well sustained throughout the day. So I look at how my body feels, but it takes several weeks for this to kick in sometimes. I mean, when I started taking it, it took like 3 days, 3 days. And I was like, man, I'm not hungry all day. It was insane. Like a teaspoon in the morning, teaspoon at night, and you're good literally all day until, early afternoon. And then I got really hungry and I'd eat a really big meal. But that's what your body is really asking for in a lot of ways. And then really drinking structured water, add minerals in it, distilled is the purest, and then you add back minerals in it. Mountain Spring would be the next best. Get filters on your water at home, because all the tap water, city water, in anywhere we go, even in Spain, not really drinkable water per se. So we want to get that really clean water going as well.
Yeah, very important. I like to hear people don't drink tap water. It's more people buying, plastic bottles, but then you've got the microplastics in that as well. So I'm thinking about getting the Brita jug or something similar, just to kind of, because I mean it's very expensive if you're buying water every day.
It
Especially
is. It is.
yeah.
I would look at a distiller of Venus and distill
Okay.
your water, and then start to add minerals back in it. And that's where you're going to have that really the purified water. You're not going to get the plastics. You're not going to get the heavy metals, the chlorine, graphene, all the aluminums and all the heavy metals that are in the tap water. So the distillers are a great source at most bang for your buck, I believe.
Amazing. A couple of quick questions for you. What is the book that changed your life?
Oh, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. It really allowed me to broadcast my voice with a big pillar of strength. And The Invisible Rainbow showcases the history of electricity in life, and it directly correlates every major pandemic to increased shifts in our electromagnetic blanket of an atmosphere, whether it was cosmic or man-made. So 1918, World War II, we rolled out radio waves for the first time. That's huge. And people will say maybe it was the vaccines. Well, no, it was the radar. And they had the same upper respiratory infections as we had with the 5G rollout the last several years. And then we had So that was so 1918 Spanish flu. Then we had what was that, World War I, and then we had Hong Kong flu, satellites, and then World War II radar, and then 5G. So literally 150-page bibliography. The book is riveting. Will change everyone's life. There wasn't any cardiovascular disease back then. There were 6 cases of diabetes 130 years ago that he could find printed across the entire world. 6.
Wow.
So we've ratcheted up fake food, we've ratcheted up EMFs. I'm going to lean in on the EMF space, because when you affect your chi, you're going to affect the chemistry of your body, because we can't have chemistry and biology without energy. So the energy is primary. Bruce Lipton will talk about that. So that book alone is a must read for everybody. The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg.
Amazing. So what phrase or affirmation or quote do you live by?
I choose to be my very best, being 100% ready, willing, able, safe, worthy, supporting, deserving, to own my power with infinite love and gratitude by accepting, releasing any pain, fatigue, limiting beliefs now and forever, no matter how painful, challenging, stressful life is, has been, or will be. Today, I am feeling abundant.
Is that yours? Did you make that up?
It's mostly Dr. Darren Weissman's Infinite Love and Gratitude technique, but I've added a little bit to it. I use that. There's shorter versions that I'll throw out. But that's one of the big ones that I'll say repeated over and over again.
What's it called? I'm going to look that up.
Oh, Dr. Darren Weissman. It's the Lifeline technique.
The Lifeline technique. I love it, because I'm so into I love the concept of consensual brainwashing, which I think affirmations are, you know.
It is. I would look up Gay Hendricks too. He did the Upper Limit, and that is it's, what was it called? The Big Leap is the book, and it's the Upper Limit Challenge. So people, when they get stuck, they feel that they have an upper limit. But his book's called The Big Leap, and he talks about, I'm expanding in abundance, success, health, and love. And you say that over and over again. So that's a short version of it. But yeah, our body doesn't know the difference between memory, reality, and imagination. So when we can replay these things with an evoke feeling and senses and smells, taste, and that smile in it, and get that emotion into it, you can replay that over and over again. Then when you go to that situation, it's already solidified. So we can create abundance in our world. We can create that relationship. We can create that whatever you're looking for by replaying it over and over again and tricking our body.
That's amazing. It's very empowering. I'm definitely going to look that up, because that's something I struggle with sometimes. I did a whole session here last night with some of my female friends about we did a letting go list because of the full moon. I kind of follow moon cycles quite a lot, and we made a list of all these things, and then we just went out and burnt them, you know, to kind of let go of these limited thoughts, because sometimes it's hard to think big, you know. Sometimes we all have we put these limits on ourselves, so it's good to have some techniques to kind of go beyond these boundaries. So where can people find you?
EMFrocks.com, athleticism.com. It's spelled athletic, ism.com. If you can see it on the shirt, those are the great places. We have all our curated health products on athleticism.com.
Amazing. Thank you. So thank you so much for joining us today on the Orgasmic Lifestyle Podcast. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you, Venus. Pleasure.